Hello and welcome to Ghostspility with myself, Paranormal Witch, and
Paranormal Teach.
we have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. We have Jenny with us today.
We love Jenny.
We love Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I am known as Spooky Jenny or Mrs. Pico or just Jen to some people. I'm the founder of Pico House Media, academic researcher, and unapologetically obsessed with the dead. My family roots run deep in Alabama, and my work centers on Southern death culture and with a special focus on New Orleans. I blend historical research, folklore, and paranormal investigation to uncover the stories that refuse to stay buried. Whether I'm neck deep in old court records, studying faded media photos, exploring above ground tombs, or chatting with one of my haunted dolls, I bring scholarship, storytelling, and supernatural grit to every project. I don't just study the dead, I make sure they have the stage.
Yes,
Oh my
I
God,
love that.
So cool.
I love that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Taylor ever told you, but like that kind of stuff is what I like have read many books about, and I never read books. Like I should.
It's the only books
It's the
Mitchell
only
will
books
read.
I've read. It's my favorite author, so we'll talk about it later. But yeah, so excited for today's episode.
Me too.
We are talking about dolls with different cultural backgrounds. So trying to be respectful to either spirits that have grown up differently than us or come from a different place than us, or just kind of experience life in a way that's different than how we do. So yeah, very excited to get started. So we have some specific questions we're going to kind of get to today.
Yes.
So I will start with our first question I have written down. And that is, why is it important to consider a spirit's cultural or spiritual background when engaging with them? Jenny, I will let you start. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm excited. Can you tell?
Yes.
It's because cultures are so different and every person, spirit, entity, anything that, that we'll be talking about has emotions minus the fae. But we want to respect them, and we want to make sure that we as investigators are being ethical in the practices that we do, that we are respecting the living and the dead, that we are communicating clearly and effectively, that we are avoiding harm and being authentic, as well as building trust and relationships. And all of those things kind of center around being ethical and making sure that when you're doing paranormal investigating or research, that you're not the main focus of the attention. What you're going to do is you're entering into someone else's space or home, and you're in their house, is what I tell people. You're going into someone else's space or learning things about them, and how would you want to be treated? And I also like to tell people, you give respect to get respect. And if you don't go about things with respect, you're wasting your time, because nobody wants to be confronted head on with anybody or anything. Like, I don't want a first interaction with somebody to be aggressive and in my face and loud and things like that. I'm
Yep.
also autistic, and so those things are a huge turnoff to me. And so, yeah, it's like, but respect and ethics are the two biggest things that I tell everybody. And you need to make sure that you have those straight in your head before you start doing research, because there's going to be things that come up that you have questions about, or that you may question yourself and have, though, as a reaction, and you have to be prepared for those things.
Totally. I actually think it's a very common theme that's come up in a lot of our episodes, is like just being respectful and being able to show people that, like, whether you're investigating like even a place or a spirit or an event, like to just try and like kind of take your bias out of it, which is, I think, really hard to do. But I think the goal is to try your best to be able to do that. And we talk about that all the time.
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to remember that somebody's culture or religion or spiritual belief system, a spirit's differences are not entertainment. And that's something that sometimes I see get lost in translation in haunted doll collecting, where it's like, oh, this spirit, I found this haunted doll and this is their background and they're from this place and they do this and this and this. And I think that's so cool. And that's going to be so fun to work with. And we immediately go to me when, in reality, we should be going to how do we support that spirit, their beliefs, their differences from how can we adjust our space to reflect and respect their culture too, as well as own. Because while those things may be interesting to us as investigators, collectors, whatever, those are someone's beliefs. And regardless of if they're living or not, those beliefs still matter. And we should be honoring, celebrating them, not gawking at them and using them for our own entertainment or whatever that may be. I see that happen all the time. And I think it's such a shame, especially when it comes to, I see this the most with like pagan beliefs and witchcraft. Even just yesterday, I was researching a new cemetery I found that I'd like to investigate. And there's all this information. They're like, there's a witch's circle there. And that's where the scary stuff happens. You should go there. And I'm like, no, these are people's beliefs. And we should be hearing them, not seeing that as some spectacle to go, visit and have a spooky experience. So I love your answer. I think it's so important. And it's something that I think as investigators, sometimes people run on adrenaline and we forget what's really important. And that's the spirits that we're working with. So
for sure.
And different doesn't equal wrong. And there's so many things that I feel like we talk about as, spirit keepers and investigators and that apply here, but really should apply to real life as well. And it's almost interchangeable. How would you treat someone in real life? Like physical life is how you should be treating a spirit, and or where you're, treat it like your own home.
Totally. Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. On to our next question. Do you have any spirits with different backgrounds than your own? If so, how do you honor them?
I do. So I have in total, I have 15 spirits here. I have 4 fae. I have, all different kinds from different spaces and places and backgrounds and ages that are very different from my own. And I echo a lot of the things that you guys say too over and over is like it's respect. I don't know that I understand your past and what you've been through. And I would like to know, even if I can't understand. And communicating things like that with I haven't lived the life you have. I haven't had those same life experiences, but let's find a commonality or, being open and saying, well, sorry, I have a candle lit that's going nutso right now that I can literally see at the corner of my eye. And, but it does really go back to just be respectful of them and asking questions and being open to understanding. There are so many different religions and beliefs that don't necessarily fall into a box. You can't just say, well, I believe this or I believe that. It kind of, some beliefs pull a little bit from different areas. Louisiana voodoo is a huge interest of mine, and because it's in the South and it's very different and it's very similar because of the area and the city of New Orleans, and they had slaves coming in, they had people coming in. Their religion is it's taken pieces of a lot of different things and put it together. Yeah. And so by asking the questions and wanting to understand, I feel like that's the best way to even just being open and being willing to take in the information. Even if you don't understand it either, it's just be open and willing to receive information if they choose to give it.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the mishmash of different things. I feel like there's so many commonalities more than differences a lot of times. So I think it's easy to find the common things that, either spirits or people from different backgrounds have in common. You kind of have to explore it though,
One thing as a collector that's been super important to me is I really want to have a diverse space. So we have spirits from all around the world, you know, and their vessels have come from all different countries, all different, I mean, they have all different religions, things like that. And something that's really easy if you're somebody that is collecting at home and you're watching this is one thing that I make a point to do whenever we get a spirit that's from a different cultural background, they have a different religion, I try to find a book. And we have this shelf in here. You can't see it right now, but that entire shelf is books from all different cultures, places about, you know, we have a book about yokai for our Japanese spirits. We have, you know, a book about Slavic mythology and all different things. And it's a way to, one, show them that we're interested and we want to learn and we can learn from those books. It's a way to give them a piece of home and their folklore and their stories as well in there. And it also is something that other spirits who may be different from them can look at too and say, oh, you know, this yokai book, you know, this is how I can learn about Hoshi and Kogo or things like that. So it's a very indirect way to, you know, show them that they're welcome. And offerings are huge too, you know, like offerings from where they came from, what they believe in. And I mean, we have religious symbols from so many different religions. I mean, goddesses, things that, you know, we personally don't practice, but that doesn't matter because they do and they live in our home and, you know, we consider them a part of our family. And, you know, in the same way as, you know, I honor Mitchell's differences, we honor their differences too. And it's just it's a really, really easy way to show them like, hey, we care about this and we want to learn too. Even though it's not what we practice, that doesn't mean we don't want to know. And it also kind of opens the door for conversations with them too and allows us to have ways to ask them those questions like you were talking about, like, hey, I read this in this book. Can you tell me about this? And see what they want to share. So, yeah.
Well, and sometimes our spirits want to learn about us.
Yeah.
A lot of times too.
Yeah.
Like especially the Fae, because a lot of times, like, it's not that they just don't get it. Like, it's just not something they've been used to. So, like, we had a time where we had to explain
species differences is huge too.
Oh my gosh,
religion, you know, it's species differences too.
I remember trying to
think we're so weird.
I remember trying to explain the concept of a nickname to Nayaka.
Yes,
with one of our
I remember that.
It was so hard because, like, we it's like intuitively you're like, oh yeah, like my name is Mitchell, like people call me Mitch.
But I can't define a nickname.
But like, what is it? And they're like, well, why don't you say your full name? And I'm like, well, I you're right, but it's like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and it's like, so, you know, fun. Spooky Jenny, they're like, oh, well, why that doesn't sound like a person's name. And we're like, well, how are you online? You add words. And we're like, but I can't tell you how to define it, but we'll figure it out and we'll try our best.
Yeah, it's hysterical. And I think it keeps us on our toes.
I'm like learning to explain things that are just intuitive to us, you know.
Yeah, it's very fun.
We love them.
Cool. Next thing. How many spiritual beliefs surrounding haunted objects differ across global traditions?
So haunted objects differ because they have different purposes. So the purpose of a haunted object isn't the same here as it is in Japan or in, you know, in Jessica's case, in Thailand, or they have different purposes. So we can't say that a haunted object is the same because it's really not. Different religions use it, different cultures use haunted objects. It's almost like the religion itself that dictates what it is. And because they're all so different, it could have different purposes.
Sure.
I think Hoshiko's case is a really interesting example of this because in Japan, Zashiki Warashi, which is the type of Japanese yokai that Hoshi is, in Japan, they view those spirits as almost like gods. And people like bury things under their house in hopes to bring a Zashiki Warashi to their home. They have an altar for those spirits. Like they really honor and respect and value. And I mean, they put out fresh offerings every single day in hopes of keeping the Zashiki Warashi in their home. And so when we brought Hoshi home in particular, I thought it was, you know, really interesting. Like, yes, she's a kid spirit. And here, you know, we view kids as kids, but to Hoshi, she is accustomed to in Japan being a spirit who is essentially worshipped. And so it's important when we're working with Hoshi that we remember those things because to her, she's like, she is seen as royalty and she's expected to be treated as such. And so I think it's important, if you're bringing in those kinds of spirits, that you remember like what they're accustomed to, because that's what they're going to expect from you as a spirit keeper. And it's going to be really hard to build a relationship if they're expecting, well, I'm a god in Japan, to, oh, well, you're a 5-year-old here. So we really made that shift when we brought her in order to honor her in the way that she is accustomed to, because it is so different. So yeah.
And I think also as well, it kind of comes back to, you kind of got to do homework.
Yeah.
You kind of gotta you gotta find a book. You gotta research. You gotta talk to someone. Like, you gotta be willing to be a little wrong. But it's like this, no spirit expects you to just like intuitively know what to do. So it's like, it's a learning process for people on both sides.
They just look for effort.
And even if it's like, hey, I know I'm not doing this perfectly, but like, I know that in, let's say, Japanese tradition, like with Hoshi, this day is a holiday. Like, you may not celebrate it exactly how it was maybe in Japan, but like a little bit of an effort, right? If it's just something, or even just acknowledging it, be like, hey, this is a special day for you. I couldn't do anything specific. Here's a nickel to represent that. And like, that's all they need. Like, it's just some sort of effort, I think is really appreciated.
Yeah, I agree.
But each spirit does it differently.
Yeah.
I'm not generalizing. Yeah. Everyone likes to do it differently. Cool. Love that question. Next one. Can you share some examples of how beliefs about the afterlife may differ across cultures? How may this impact how a spirit behaves or is interpreted? I love this question.
Yeah. So the afterlife in different cultures, again, I go back to New Orleans and Louisiana voodoo, because it's like, that's near and dear to my heart. And we talk about the afterlife, and they believe that that people pass and they still have a connection to the living, and that you visit your ancestors, and you visit, and you on November 1st, it's called All Saints Day, and they go and they celebrate and they decorate tombs and they do all these things, and they have these connections still with their loved ones. They've passed on and they've moved on from this life, but they honor and respect them, and that's how they treat them. Now, not everybody does that. You have Christianity where it's heaven and hell, and one or the other. And so their afterlife, again, it goes back to respecting them and figuring out, what do you believe? Do you believe that your soul stays here in the afterlife? How do you transition? What is the time frame? The time frame of, getting from this plane to the afterlife is different. And those are all things too you have to be aware of as a, when you're engaging with spirits, is that it's different. It's every aspect of it is so different, and you can't assume that it's one way, because we have learned that it can be completely what you don't expect. You go into it thinking, oh, it's like this, or their belief of the afterlife is like this because I believe this, and my understanding is, they believe that everybody crosses over, and that may not be their belief. So you really do have to look at the big picture of the afterlife, and even ask yourself, what do I believe, to be able to then understand possibly what others believe.
I think you make a really interesting point too about how, in their culture, they see it as they still have a connection to the living. And that's really important to emphasize, I think, because I see a lot of paranormal content that we get, investigators get kind of fixated on this concept of, you're trapped here, you're stuck here. I need to help you cross over. It's my responsibility to help you cross over. But if you don't know that spirit, that may not be their belief. Their belief may be, we stay here, and we shouldn't be forcing spirits to follow our belief, what we think is right. And I think that's something that, as a whole, as this field, we really need to kind of try to move toward, because people get so interested in this area of crossing over in particular, when not every spirit believes that. And some of them believe that they are here for a purpose and they are trying to fulfill that purpose, and that is the mission of their afterlife, and we should respect them in that journey and celebrate that. And if they're happy here and they believe they should be here, why are we playing God or whatever and saying, well, I don't think that's the case. So I think that's a really interesting point you made. And I think something that I really hope to see change in this field. But I feel like we're still not quite there, because I really feel like people, especially with spirits and haunted objects in particular, get really stuck on this idea of they're trapped, they're stuck, they're fixed here. And I mean, we've talked to enough of ours that they're like, I'm not trapped. I'm having fun. Leave me alone. Like, don't ask me about it. I'm not interested. Leave me be. So, yeah.
They're having toga parties. It's fine.
Oh, they're having a blast. And I think,
who's going to stop them? They want M&Ms and purses.
Yeah,
be,
I mean, they're chill. I think also, like, it makes me think of, I think it was one of the first podcasts we did with Christy. And we asked her, was like, what is one thing you want to tell people? And she was like, don't expect us to explain what's going on, because we don't know what the hell is going on. And I'm like, wow. Because you think like, wow, like they gotta know what's happening, right? Because they're over there, but they're like, listen, we don't know why we're here. You don't know why we're here. We don't know why you're there, chilling. But it's all good. And I'm like, oh, interesting. We're kind of in this space where no one really knows what's going on, but we're like, hey, let's just enjoy it while we're here. Yeah. Like, let's do some toga parties and like play some music and call it a day.
And people get really stuck on like these arguments about the afterlife, but in reality, like everybody just has theories. Nobody knows for sure exactly what the afterlife is.
People who are in it don't know what's going on. They couldn't explain it either. They're like, we don't know why we're here.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why we get so argumentative about this is what we need to do about the afterlife. When, like, how do we know? We're not there. How do we know? We're trying our best. We're creating theories based on our own observations, but that's all we're doing, and nobody knows for sure. So, yeah,
for sure. I love it. Next question. In what ways do you think paranormal investigators from the US may misinterpret spirit behavior that stems from a different spiritual belief system other than their own?
I don't like to single out us Americans, but I'm going to. And for this, we are who we are. We have, I think that we go into I say we because I'm here as well. I'm in Texas. So, but, going into things and not understanding and assuming that things are, okay, here's a great example. So we all know there are TV shows out there that dramatize and make situations things that they really aren't.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people can be influenced by the influence that others have and their behaviors and think that those things are correct. And if there's bad behaviors from, these celebrities on the internet and people who have a big following, I think they can influence people to have misunderstandings and not understand things like, Dybbuk's and jinns and demons and things like that. And then we kind of have this image in our head that going into things, again, not understanding, not having an open mind, and we may misinterpret what something means or what a spirit means or what, their word for something means that's different than our own. And we're doing them a disservice because we're not trying to be open-minded and think that, again, going back to they have their own beliefs that are built upon many different factors and different things. So you really have to be able to step back and ask the questions and, like I said, be open to receiving the information and willing to process it and being, like you said, Mitchell, being wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You don't have to be right. I'm not right all the time. I get it wrong often, but I admit that. And I say, I don't know everything. I'm not an expert. I have a ton to learn, but I want to learn. So please help me learn.
Totally.
I love that point. I love that point.
I think you have to admit that you don't know something to be able to like learn something, right? You have to.
And I think it's important to think about, how we interpret things, and if we are interpreting them under our own lens, or if we are interpreting them under the lens of the intention of the spirit. I think, one that comes to mind for me is CL. I know, Jenny, how CL communicates, but it's very different. And, under our lens, it's very easy to interpret him as being mean, sometimes even going as far as like being cruel. But with Ciel, he's not human. He is a fae. They see emotions very, very differently. And to Ciel, he's telling the truth. He doesn't lie.
Right.
He's saying, I am telling you the truth. This is what the truth is. Like, I don't understand why your feelings are hurt by what I'm saying, because I'm being honest with you, and that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, it's important that we adjust our view and we say, hey, like, Ciel is trying to help us. He's trying to teach us. He's not trying to bully. He's just speaking what he sees as the truth. And he doesn't understand our feelings about the matter. And, we could be in this power struggle with Ciel where it's, you need to talk a certain way. You need to, oh my God, you said a bad word. Don't do that. But, and we could get into it with him, which I see investigators do all the time with spirits. Or we could say, hey, this is a spirit who communicates differently. He's trying to teach us something in his way from his species, and let's just listen to him. And, we have learned so much because of that. And I'm really glad that we didn't get stuck up on the F-bombs and the everything else that comes with it. But, they have things to teach us, and they may just communicate differently, but that doesn't mean that bad intentions are there.
Right.
So.
Right. And you ask the questions, and as a human, it's hard to not get your feelings hurt. Like when there's Emmett was, Murphy he's a teen, an older teen boy. He, he's a witch, and he does, he reminds me kind of Phineas, not at the level, but that younger male energy that practices witchcraft and things like that. And so Emmett was talking to him one day, and Emmett asked him, "Are we friends?" And he said, "No." And Emmett said, "Well, can we be friends?" And he said, "Yes." And we were talking about it later, and I said, "Well, you asked him if y'all were friends. And in his mind, you aren't friends yet. And that's okay, but you also know that when you ask the question, you have to be prepared for their answer, not
Of
the
course.
answer that you for, because you're not gonna get it any other way than the way they want to, like, they want to give it to you. And it's brutally honest, and that's just part of it.
And I do feel like spirits are a lot more straightforward than the living are. Like they are not going to sugarcoat. They're just going to say it. They're communicating with these tools that limit their output. And when you have a finite number of words and a finite way to communicate, stuff's going to come out a little bit more blunt. We don't have the advantage of listening to their tone of voice when they said it.
Right.
We don't have the advantage of they have access to every fluff word they could do to make our feelings feel good, and again, it's not about our feelings. It's not about that. It's about understanding them and learning who they are. And it's not for us as much as we enjoy it. We shouldn't be doing it for us and our entertainment value. It's because we want to support spirits. We want to learn. We want to understand, and we want to, go forward on our spiritual growth. It's not for fun. As fun as it is, it's not a hobby that is for fun exclusively.
There's work. It's work. There's work you have to put in. And I think it's not just getting, a vessel, whatever that may be, and bringing it into your home or wherever your space is, and just putting it on a shelf and walking away and leaving it and never touching it again. That's unfair. It's not furniture. This is not, like, I don't look at collecting, having vessels and spirits as I'm having furniture. It's like, I take this on as an active participant. And I think that's what people need to be aware of too, is you have to be an active participant. You can't expect them to do all the work, and they can't expect you to do all the work. It really is a partnership.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I almost hate the term like haunted doll collecting because, you know, like the collecting community and the collecting mindset as is I'm going to get as many as possible of this thing and I'm going to look at them and make it look all fancy and it's going to be, you know, great and I'm going to go get everything I
Yeah,
can get
and have the rare ones, the different
right.
varieties,
It's
and
like
yeah.
collecting. I know it's the word for it, so that's the word we use, but I almost don't like it for that reason because I think it gives the wrong idea. Like the idea is not to collect and hoard, it's to support the spirit. And I think that we should be looking at it a lot more like that and a lot less along the lines of like, oh, gotta catch them all. Okay, if you want to do that, go play Pokemon. I love Pokemon too. We can collect those. But, you know, this is for supporting the spirit, building a relationship, giving them a space where they can thrive, whatever that looks like for the individual. And however much they want to be interacted with is what we should be doing. You know, we have some that want to talk to us every couple of months and they don't come on very much, but they're just happy to be here. That's cool. We have some that are like, you better talk to me every weekend or you're going to have problems. And that's okay too. So whatever it may be, you know, we need to be prepared that not every spirit's going to behave the way we expect. And we should be prepared to support them in whatever way they're hoping to be supported. So,
right.
And I think this comes back to something we talk about almost every single episode is don't do the research after they show up. Probably do it before. So like if you don't think it's a spirit that you can maybe spend enough time with, it's probably not going to be a good option. If you're getting a 5-year-old who really wants to talk all the time, but you're, you know, really busy, you have a really active job and you're really busy and you're not home a lot, it's probably not a great option. There are spirits out there that are like, hey, I just want to be in the same space as you. Let's talk every 2 or 3 weeks. We'll just chat a little bit and that's good. Some spirits are cool with that, you know, but you have to know. And if you don't know, do the research, number one. And number two, reach out to the seller. They will be able to help. If it's a good seller, they will be able to say, this spirit will work for you. This spirit's probably not a good option. And half the time, sometimes it's not the one you picked. Sometimes it's not the one you want. Sometimes it's the one that shows up anyway.
It's the one you need.
It's the one you need, right? like Phineas. Sometimes like we had no intention of adopting Phineas.
Nope.
And then it was like 3 months later, and we're like, I think we need to get this guy. Like, I don't know. And then he gets here and he's like, took you long enough. Like, I've been sitting there waiting for you. Like, what have you been doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. So it's a fun time.
I feel like all of the dolls in that box have all like, or they're like slowly coming to y'all's house like one at a time.
I know it.
Yes,
I know it.
Well, that's how the Connor,
yeah.
the new guy, he was part of that. Like, he came from that shipment. All of them are just like filtering their way here. I think one of them. I think who's our first one from that? Bobby?
Auric.
I think Auric was like, guys, this is a good time. It's a fun place to be.
Come play my game
And
show.
he's like calling people, and he's like, yo, come on over. This is a good time.
I'm running a game show at this place.
I'm running a game show. I love you. Like, it's crazy, but who knows? I think it's fun. Next question. I think we're on this one. Okay. What steps do you think collectors should take before working with a spirit from a different background from them? I know we touched on this a little, but please go ahead.
Yeah. Again, you know, really understanding their kind of what beliefs they exist in, what world they're in, what realm, you know, the how they believe in things, how they got where they are, you know, was it something that took time, or was it, you know, did they have something tragic happen, or you really being aware of those types of things that you literally have to take a shot in the dark sometimes, and you don't know what's going to come back, and being willing to, you know, to understand anything and to have the open mind of, I don't understand. Okay, sorry. There's string and flame. Again, I need to stop looking over here. I'm going to put my hand up. So I can't see the flame.
There's, side note, really quick. There is someone at your house who is like screaming in my brain. I don't know who it is, but it's someone with like a short name. It's like a 1-syllable name. and it's someone who's like, I don't know if it's someone at your place or something. I don't know. I'm hearing something in my brain. It's like very distracting. But anyways, go ahead.
It's a one. I've got
I
Theo
feel
and
like
Pip. I've
it's gonna
got
wait. Hold on. Who's Pip?
Theo and Pip are a bonded pair. They're boys that were 10 to 12. They went on a frozen pond, fell through the ice,
It might
and they
be
were
one of them.
together.
It might be them because like I don't know. I'm hearing it in my head. Anyways, please go ahead. Keep going. Like it's so distracting. They're like talking to me, and I'm like seeing them like fly around, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta focus.
Is this a frequent thing that happens during the
No,
podcast?
this has never happened before. This
it
is
happens
why
in
I'm
our
so
house,
alarmed.
but not other people's houses.
No, that's
usually.
never happened. No, not this. What's happening in my brain? This has never happened before. That's why I'm like, oh my god, I gotta focus. So I'm so sorry. Please keep going.
This is what haunted dog collecting is about, folks.
Yeah, it's the real deal here. Like
Real
you
deal.
can't make it up. It just happens how it does. But it's that open mind. It's being able to go into a situation and that has beliefs different than your own or possible beliefs different than your own, and being willing to accept that there are people who have, I say people, you'll know what I mean. There are other beliefs out there that are important to people or spirits or things that you interact with. So just knowing that it's not something that's like, oh, a different color shirt. These are important soul level, like this is how they feel, how they, this is them. This is part of who they are. You can't change it. You can't ask them to change it. You just have to go with it and know that it'll be fine. Like that their beliefs are okay, and it's okay to be different.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to convert anybody.
No.
We don't need to convert anybody. I mean, I'll never forget this. And I tell this story. I've been telling this story forever, but very, very, very early on when I started collecting, like I first started posting, like I finally got brave enough to post about what I was doing. And I wasn't posting just, I used to talk about horror books. Actually, that was like it was supposed to be a book talk. And then I was like, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to share about not just ghost books, but like what I'm doing in my house. And so I shared about it, and I had somebody reach out to me, and they were telling me that they were a collector, and they thought that it was problematic that I was not taking all of my haunted dolls to church and converting them because
oh my god, I remember this.
Yeah. This is real shit. This is crazy.
I remember this.
And they said it was really problematic that I was not converting my spirits to this religion because that was the only way that they would be allowed to cross over and find peace, and that I was basically torturing spirits by not forcing them into a religion that would allow them to cross. And I don't tell that story to rip on this person, but I tell that story as like a cautionary tale of like, you have to remember that we are not, as spirit keepers, converting anybody to what we believe in. They are entitled to their beliefs. And if we think that this is about conversion, like we've got serious problems as a field, because this world is so diverse and there are so many people and spirits from all different backgrounds, all of which are valid. And I think that in anything, it's okay to believe. It's not okay to shove somebody else to believe, including spirits. Even if they are in your home, just because they are in your home does not mean that spirit is your possession to do that with.
Right.
So.
And, even going so far too, to talk about there are conjured spirits that may have religions that are very, very, very near and dear to them, that are, they're very strictly religious or whatever their beliefs are. And they aren't here with a choice.
Yeah.
So it's not like they get a choice of what their beliefs are. And so sometimes it isn't a choice, and knowing that not everything is a choice.
Yeah, not all of them have the option, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even if they wanted it, and I think pushing that as an option for a spirit that doesn't have that choice is really trauma inducing. So.
And also, don't expect them to have an answer of what they want to do either,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they probably don't know.
Yeah.
Or they're like, are you going to expect a 4-year-old to make an educated decision about their afterlife?
Yeah. That's the other
Right.
thing with
Like,
kids.
what are you going to do?
And I talk about too, like the inherent power complex we have over spirits as the living is so high, and that's such a huge responsibility. Like with kids, like you just said, a kid spirit, if you say, oh, go find the light, go do this, like they may be, young and impressionable, and it may not be what they want, but they're just doing it out of compliance because they're a kid and they're used to doing what adults say, and it may not be what they want. And so we have to be really, really cautious about telling spirits what to do and instead asking them what they want to do.
Right. And, even looking at their background and what their beliefs are, and knowing if you are, if you have other spirits in your house, knowing knowing where everybody's at. Because I have 2 trans spirits here. I'm not going to bring in a spirit of someone who is Christian with, beliefs that don't align with the things that my spirits here are. And
That's
that
a very
the
good point.
support that we give them. I'm not going to bring in somebody that doesn't have the same beliefs or could be I don't want to say a threat, but that's the word I'm going to use, because
Totally.
it could be a threat to them, and I'm not going to do that. So I also look at that too, because we support them in a way they didn't have that support in life, and I'm not going to jeopardize that with them here by bringing in a spirit that has completely different beliefs. I'm just not going to do that, because I'm not going to choose, and I'm not going to make them uncomfortable. They were here first. This is their home, and I'm not going to bring
really
anybody in that's going to do anything.
Yeah.
That's a really good
You don't need
point.
to create unnecessary conflict.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I'm totally on
And
board.
that's where it comes back to. It's not just collecting, right? It's like you have to matchmake too.
Yes, you do. Okay. How do beliefs about crossing over differ across cultures, and why is this important to consider?
So I talked a little bit about this. We talk about crossing over. It's like, it's the destination of the soul. Where does it go? Does it, that's a thing you have to consider. How does it transition? What is the time that it takes for it to transition? Is it immediate? Does it take days, weeks, months, years? What does the process look like? Do they have any kind of spiritual assistance? These are all, again, factors of what you have to think about, because crossing over and the afterlife is different it could be different for them than it is for us. If you ask anybody, they're going to tell you a different version of it from what their beliefs are. And nobody has the same, I'm going to say nobody has the same exact beliefs. Everybody's beliefs to me are a little bit different. They have their own personality and their own, like, who they are built into that. And so because it's all different, again, you have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to say, oh, was it painful for you, or what was the process like, or how can I support you, or and have that mindset of, it's all different. You're a support person for your spirits, and is there help that you could give them? Because and also remember that the help you give them could help other people, even just asking them the questions. Like, what is your belief? How do you believe? Why do you believe this? Or what do you believe? And being open to all those answers.
I love that.
Yeah, and just ask. Say you don't know. Ask.
Ask the question.
Hey, ask the question. What are you going to lose? Say you don't know and say, hey, I want to learn more about you. Can we talk about this? And they're going to, if they say yes, great, go ahead and go do it.
And this is another thing. This is why we say episode after episode after episode is communication is everything. You can't ask unless you communicate with them and have a way to communicate. Like, all of these things of how to do it appropriately comes down to, you have to communicate with them, and you have to be able to communicate with them. And if you have tried one method and it didn't work for you, you don't give up. You find something else that works for you.
You just keep going, because getting stuck somewhere it's like, we've all we've all screwed up. We've all had failed communication sessions. Like it looks easy from the outside, but there's nights that we've sat on Spirit Box and it's like we're just sitting there. We're just chilling. Like Emmett's got headphones on and I'm just like nothing comes through. And that's not a fault of our own. That's not a fault of his or mine. It's just that's that moment. And that's what happened. We couldn't connect to anybody. And that's okay. But that doesn't mean that we stop. And it's okay if it takes time too. You can come back to something because it didn't work today. Doesn't mean it's not going to work in a week or a month or 6 months. Because as you grow and as a human, if you are learning and growing and trying to, build onto the things that your skills and things like the abilities that you have in 6 months, your abilities could be so different that you would have a completely different experience because you're not the same person. Your skills aren't the same. Your abilities have changed. So just because it didn't work at one point doesn't mean it's never going to work again.
And just because, and I think the flip side too is like, just because you do something now doesn't mean it's not okay to change your mind and say, hey, this might not work. I feel like I was influencing that. Like I used to be somebody who was like all about the dowsing rods, for example, when we first started. I loved them. And then I realized like my hands are pretty shaky and, sometimes I'm moving them on accident and I don't even mean to. This was my method at one point, but now I don't use them anymore because I felt like I was screwing it up. And it's okay, and it all comes down to like that humility piece. Like it's okay to say, hey, I believed in this a couple weeks ago, but like I'm realizing that like maybe this isn't the right fit for me now. And that is totally fine to do and to adjust course and, find a less biased method for you. That's okay to do. You don't have to be stuck in one spot. You can try new things. You can really up one thing that you didn't used to like and you can completely get rid of something you used to enjoy. It's totally fine to be flexible and to ebb and flow. And like our communication is always changing based on what works and what doesn't work and what we've tried and what wasn't the best, and we go from there. And that's totally fine to do. But if we think we're an expert and we think we know it all, then we just are stagnant. And like being stagnant is the worst thing you can do when you're trying to build a relationship with the spirit and get that communication piece going. So,
and it can be uncomfortable and it can be, it's sitting there in silence can be uncomfortable, or trying to think of questions. Mitch is great at questions. And I'm always like, okay, what is Mitchell doing that he's like, just the pivoting and it's like,
do it.
I have no idea. I just talk. I don't
can't
know.
do it.
I've never understood people like, you're so good. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's amazing.
It's just so, I think it's because it's so natural. It comes natural. It looks natural. It just does, because I think
it's
it
like
is
a conversation with a living person.
Yeah, that's all it
the
is.
way he runs it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the harder piece of Spirit Box. I think everybody thinks is listening through the static.
No, listening through the static is so hard.
If we switched roles, man, I'd be sitting there, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite do you like chips? How's the weather? Like I would just be like fumbling, and I think that's the other thing too, is like swap roles too. See what role you fit best in, because if I was in that role, man, this would be a disaster. I mean, you guys would have no Spirit Box sessions to watch, because I think that's everything, is if you keep the conversation flowing and natural and very much like a living conversation, it's gonna go better because the spirit's motivated. When you make it very robo speak, like tell me this, tell me this, tell me this, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite color, and you ask 1,000 times, and it's like it doesn't feel like a conversation.
It's an interview.
And then they're like, peace out, I'm out, I'm not talking.
They're like, this
goodbye.
Sucks. I'm not gonna do this.
Right.
And then as Koshi says, we're hanging up.
Yeah. And I think also, one of the most important things I think that was really hard for me when we first started, and this is gonna sound weird, you have to believe that it's going to work.
Oh yeah.
If you go in with any doubt of you're like, I don't know about this, it will not work. Like you have to go in with just like the most like confidence, and you just have to really buy in because if you don't, you will never be able to get it.
And they know you don't buy
They know
in,
you
and they will
don't buy
not
in.
put the energy in because it takes so much energy for them to communicate. So if you believe the session's going to fail, you will get nothing because they're not going to waste their time with you or
Yeah.
their energy.
And you have to, we talked, it's not exactly the same, but last night we were doing this exercise, and it's, it was more than one time people were saying, well, I had the word the first time. And it's like, go with your instinct. If you believe something or if you think something, don't doubt yourself either.
Yes.
Because they're choosing you to communicate with, and they're not doubting you. So why are you doubting you? And do them the justice, if like you said, if they're going to spend their effort and their energy, give them the same respect and effort and energy, and having faith in yourself and having that belief that it's like, okay, I can do this, or I'm doing this, or I'm right, or what I'm thinking is right. It's hard. I know it's hard because it's like, well, this is random. What is this? Like, I saw a big apple in once in a reading, and I was like, what does this have to do with anything?
And then it's the most important thing to the person.
And then it'll be like
Yes.
6 months later, and you're like, wait a minute, this was the, and then yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So my word of advice is like, and I'm horrible at it myself, I need to work on it too, but it's like, have faith in yourself that it's like, you're doing it. It may not feel like you're doing it, and you may feel like you're doing it wrong, but you're doing it. And that's what matters.
Yeah.
For sure. All right.
I love that.
This is our last question. Man, here we are. How can the paranormal community promote more culturally informed practices? Ooh.
So I'm going to talk about the paranormal community, and I'm going to talk about the academic community as well. I'm going to lump them together.
Great.
Because I am in academia, and like that's where my heart is.
Do it.
But I think that anytime you want to look at any kind of belief or experience, you really need to go to the roots. You have to understand the core beliefs of what people are and what their beliefs are. Knowing things like, I'm going to use this, but sage is a sacred indigenous ritual.
Yep.
It's not just go and, something's happening, I'm going to go and sage my house. It's understanding what you're doing and it's like you have to have this broader understanding. I don't use white sage because it's not my belief.
What just
Okay.
happened?
That was my light. Who's doing things?
All right.
Okay. There we go. I'll turn that one on. Sorry about that. I was like, things are happening here.
What are you saying sorry for? We're used to it. I'm
Yeah,
like, we're about to blow a
seriously.
light bulb all the time on video. I'm like, oh God, don't say sorry for that.
Yeah, I guess it's supposed to last for hours and hours and hours. So that's interesting. Anyway, but like my thing is, I don't partake in practices that aren't things that I partake in. But I also do the research, and it go like everything. I feel like everything is coming back, and it talks about understanding, researching, asking questions, knowing you're not the expert, and being willing to be wrong. And if you have that mindset, I think you're ahead of the game, because we've seen people believe weird stuff out there. Like,
True.
I
Yeah.
don't know what they're believing, but investigation, asking the questions, having an inquisitive mind, and so that you understand at least the basics of what other people believe or stand for. You don't have to know every single detail. I don't know everything about Catholicism, but I like New Orleans and Louisiana voodoo. But it's like, I understand the big picture, but I also know that if I don't understand something, to go and ask somebody who knows.
Yeah.
And there are resources out there. If you don't know somebody who knows, Google is amazing. Chat GPT is great. Like there are things out there that if you don't know the question or you don't know who to ask, start looking for an answer. Just start looking and don't
And you know what?
expect the answer to just
Yes.
come to you.
And you know what's funny too is that's a great thing because we've started to realize that if you just ask people, especially who like definitely know what they're talking about, like they're passionate about teaching other people about it. So
Yes.
if you just email some random professor, you'll probably get a response.
Okay, that is so interesting that that is the example that you used because I'm working on a project right now for it's the US internment camp in New Orleans. There was an internment camp in World War II. And in this project, I randomly emailed a professor from Tulane and that exact situation happened. She emailed me
Mhm.
back within like 2 hours. She was so excited. She was like, "Here's my book, here's 2 podcasts, here's a YouTube video." She's the expert. I'm not the expert. But because I asked the question, I got a whole bunch of resources
Mhm.
just thrown at me. And it's just interesting that that's the example you use because that literally just happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably made their day. They were probably so excited about it.
Yes, and it's like, I was like, "I'm just some random person," but I also told her what I'm doing, what I do, and it's like, people who people like you said, people get excited about other people asking questions about things they're passionate about, and I'm the
Totally.
same way. If you're gonna talk to me about cemeteries in New Orleans, let's sit down and let me get a beverage, let me get a snack, and we're gonna talk, like, I'm excited. So, asking them, I don't it could have taken me weeks to get all of that information that I sat down, wrote an email, sent it off. Like, don't struggle just because you wanna know something. Like, work
Just
smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People message me all the time with like haunted doll questions. And I'm so happy to help because that's why I do this,
Mhm.
right? Is like I wanted resources when I started. They didn't exist. I had to figure it out. I screwed around. I messed everything up. And then I learned the hard way. And now, I want to prevent other people from having that experience and teach them. Inevitably. I mean, most of the time when somebody messages me a question, it says something along the lines at the beginning of, "I'm so, so sorry for asking this question. I don't expect you to respond at all, but I really want to know, blah, blah." And I'm like, why are you apologizing for asking? Like, that's why we do this is we want to help. We
Mhm.
want to support. You don't have to figure it out by yourself. Like you should never apologize for being curious about
No.
something that you want to know. It's better to be curious and to ask than to be closed minded and get stuck in a rut when just because you
Yeah.
don't want to ask. Like just
Mhm.
just find the resource. There are plenty of people out there that want to support, and I think that's so, so, so
Mhm.
important. And I think people get really caught up in like their own head where they get insecure and they think,
Yeah.
"Oh, this person's going to think I'm stupid." But like people
Mhm.
who know things didn't always know these things. They weren't
Right.
born with this knowledge. They learned too. They started somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just where you are in your journey, and don't be ashamed of it.
Right. Like, I don't have the same experience that the 2 of you do, and everybody's experience is different, and so it's you can't expect the same results. Like, I don't have the same communication methods that you guys do. I don't have the same experiences that you guys do either. So, and I can't compare my journey to yours. I can't compare what you're able to do today to what I'm able to do today. It's just different. And to ask questions, like I know I asked you, I don't know how many questions. I'm just like, I just blow Taylor up. I'm like, hey, blah, 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 rant. It's like, I'm just chatty. We're just having conversations. It's fine. Part of the time, it may be a one-way conversation, but it's like I am not the expert at everything, but things that I know about and things that I want to talk about, I'll gladly talk about. I'll answer questions. Like, and if I don't know, I'll say, I don't know the answer, but I know somebody that might know the answer, or I know a
Mhm.
resource that you may be able to find the answer. And if you find it, let me know, because I'm kind of curious too. Like, because if I don't know, I want to know, but I don't always have the time or the ability to look everything up myself. And it's like, then that to me also builds community with somebody else. If they don't know, it's like, well, let me know, because I want to know too.
And
Like,
I
you
don't
know something,
know
you're
is a
going to know something.
perfectly acceptable response. Like, a
Yes.
lot of people just make something up, and I'm like, no, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable response. Just because you're
Mhm.
super knowledgeable in all of these areas doesn't mean that you are a textbook and have every answer that's ever existed about this. It's okay to say, I don't know. And I would much
Mhm.
rather hear, I don't know, than some made up nonsense to get the question answered. You know, like, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable response. And it's okay to be at a spot in your journey where you don't know, because you
Yes.
can get further if you just get the support. So, you know, I think that's, you know, coming back to like the cultural topic, I think that's key. You know, if you have a spirit from a
Mhm.
different background, reach out to somebody else who's living, who is from that background. Hey, can you
Mhm.
tell me about, you know, blah, 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 because I have a spirit that is this religion and I want to know about it. It's okay
Mhm.
to do that. You know, like, find those resources. Don't assume,
Yeah.
don't guess, don't pretend you know. Just ask somebody who has a similar background, and you'll get much farther and have a lot more success.
Yeah, and people
Mhm.
love talking about their culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, if
Yeah.
they do rituals, if they have any kind of ritualistic practices that they do, you know, if you can be included in that, or if you know, it's like there's things that you can do, but you have to put forth the effort.
Mhm.
You're investing in something that is not just furniture to sit in your house somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And their culture comes with them. You know, it's not just
Mhm.
the vessel. Their culture comes with them. Their background comes with them. And if you are not bringing in a spirit who has the same background as you, this is part of collecting. This is part of being a spirit keeper. It's not just a flashlight and an EMF. It goes so much deeper than that. And we have to get
Mhm.
beyond the equipment, and producing results and getting them to do this and activity. And oh my God, I want my light to flicker. Oh my God, I want my door to open.
Mhm.
No, it goes so much deeper than that. And when you do go deeper and you do build those relationships that are based in culture and values and who they are, then all the
Mhm.
other crap will come with it anyway. You
Yeah.
know, like, we didn't do anything to make all of that happen in our house. You know, we built the
Mhm.
relationships. They felt comfortable with us. It happened on its own. You know, if you're sitting
Mhm.
there, you're like, flicker the light, flicker the light. Oh my God, do this. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, can you touch the door? Blah. Like, you're missing the point. You're
Yeah.
missing the point.
And
It's a relationship.
we a lot of things, and something I did not mention about culture too, to think about is their what their vessel looks like, and if they have any kind of dress or anything
Mm.
like that.
Mhm.
Because let me grab example. So, you know, this is Frauke. She's German. She's a, you know, and but her vessel is part of her belief. Like, this is, you know, this is what she looks like. I have another who is Romani, and they're like, that is part of their beliefs, is how they're dressed. You know, you can't just, and don't go and change a vessel's anything. Like, don't, and that goes back to the respect thing. If you don't like something that they have on, you don't know if it's cultural or not.
Yeah,
So
that's a
they
very good
pick
point.
things for a reason. And, you know, people, I know that we always advise people, don't change their vessel, don't change their clothes, don't change anything about it, but it could be more than just clothes. It could be based on their beliefs and their religious practices too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Or
very good point.
or it could be silly, and it could be a spirit comes with dirt on them, and we ask to clean the dirt, and they say, "No, I don't want to clean the dirt off my vessel." And why was that, Taylor?
Builds character.
It builds
That's
character.
You never
character.
know. You never know.
Yeah.
That was a real thing that
Yeah.
happened. Destiny came terribly
Stop.
dirt. Oh yeah. No, so
Covered in dirt.
she showed up covered in dirt.
And more dirt. There's always a dirt pile.
There's always a dirt
on her
pile
shelf.
near
I cleaned
her.
it up, and more dirt shows up.
And
it's
then
a thing.
we asked, we were like, can we please clean the dirt off you?
No.
And she said no. And it was maybe it was a cultural reason. I'm sure it was something, or maybe it was just she just likes it, or maybe
it's a respect thing.
Maybe
Yeah,
it was just
it's her vessel. It's not
It's
mine.
her vessel.
If she
Stop. I'm
wants
gonna do
dirt
it.
in her hair, so be it. I'll have clean
So
hair.
be
She'll
it.
have dirty hair. It's
That's fine. And it was so funny.
Yeah. You can't
Oh.
assume like you can't assume that they want you to interfere with their vessel in any way. Like they could be 100% happy with it, and they, and it's just no. I don't want someone to come and make me change my clothes. Like,
pick out my
why would
clothes.
you do
Gross.
And like, yes, their
Ew.
vessel is a doll, but it's not a doll for you to play with or to dress
Right.
or whatever. Just go. I always tell people, it's like, I don't know why you don't just get a porcelain doll. If you want to do all of these things, why don't you just get a non-haunted porcelain doll? Like, that's okay to do. It's fine. Like, there's also the flip side too of like, you may have a spirit who came from a place that did change their vessel, altered it, and things like that. And again, it's important to have that communication where a spirit may say, hey, I really don't like what I'm wearing. Can you get me something new?
Like Rachel.
And, not just saying, oh, I'm going to pick a cute dress that I find on Etsy and that's what I'm going to put them in. No, like maybe they want to be in more cultural dress for them. Maybe they want to be in what feels more like their identity. And we should honor that too, because we also don't know where they came from. And there are a lot of people who change outfits because they think it's cutesy and it's fun. But it goes further than that. And, we have a lot of cultural vessels in our house, and it's really important that, we don't alter those. We don't try to make them cutesy. Again, it's not for us. It's not ours. Just because we bought their vessel doesn't mean that we own that. So again, it comes down to that like ego thing where it's like, it's about them. It's not about me. And okay, if you want something to put a pink bow in and they don't want a pink bow, go buy a porcelain doll that's not haunted and put a pink bow on it. Go for it. But like, just be nice. Just be nice.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that about wraps up our questions.
I know.
Yeah.
This was amazing. I love this. Thank you
This was
so
fun.
much for
This has
being
been
on
fantastic.
No, thank you guys for having me. This is like, I'm having the time of my life over here.
Oh, you are always welcome back.
And I just want to give a shout out. You guys on TikTok know her as Spooky Jenny because she is also a member of our mod team who helps answer all of those questions on live streams. So also shout out Spooky Jenny for that, because that is so helpful. It brings education to so many more people than I can do alone. And so the fact that you're willing to do that, I am so grateful for. Like, you never miss. You're always there. You're always helping out people. And I think that's such a huge part of what we do is, if we have the resources, being willing to give back to the community who's looking for them. So thank you so much for being a part of that as well. We are going to pause here in a moment after we ask you a question, and we are going to go to our commercial break, and then we will hear from our spirit of the week.
Yes, we will.
Where can everybody find you, follow you, etc.?
Yeah, so I am a YouTuber. That's where I've been a YouTuber for a year and a half-ish now, since March of last year. You can find me on YouTube, and my YouTube is at Pico, Pico House Media. So it's at Pico House Media. That is my YouTube channel. You'll see all kinds of stuff I do. This is not paranormal stuff, is not my where I first started. I make anti-MLM and anti-scam content. That's also over there. I do that. And so I'm working on transitioning into the paranormal, dark academia kind of space. So come follow me over there, hang out. We have lives and it's just a good time.
And I will drop her link in the description too. So make sure you check that out in the description. Head over there, subscribe to her. She's amazing.
Love it.
You're just a wealth of information and you do your research, and I love it. And it's amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you are the best. Thank you for everything.
I appreciate you.
Of course. So stay tuned. We will see you guys after our commercial break, and we will hear from our spirit of the week.
And welcome back from your commercial break. We have our spirit of the week with us. This is
Jessica.
Jessica. I adore Jessica. She is incredible. And we have a unbelievable story of how she got here. So Taylor, take it away.
Yes, and we picked Jessica for this episode because, well, part of it was her idea. On a live stream, she was giving us some ideas for an episode, and she wanted to know how to get picked for Spirit of the Week. So she got picked. She is super, super sweet, and she does come from a different background than us. She is from Thailand, from a Buddhist family. So she had a lot of interesting things to share with us. The way Jessica got here is super, super cool and honestly kind of crazy. So what happened was I saw Dayu, another one of our spirits who's from China. I saw Dayu and I was very, very drawn to her. And before I could get her, somebody else put her on reserve. And so I couldn't adopt her. And I was really upset about it. And so I contacted the seller and I was like, hey, I know she got reserved. If the person doesn't end up going through with it, I was like, please, please, please let me know, because I love Dayu and I really felt like she was supposed to be here and I missed out. And she was like, well, I'm really sorry you missed Dayu, but actually I have another girl here who I don't want to list online because she's very sensitive. She's very quiet and she can be nervous. And I feel like your home would be a really good environment for her. She's like, no pressure. You don't have to say yes, but I really feel like Jessica is meant to be with you. And I was like, okay. So she sent the bio. Obviously, we love Jessica, and we took Jessica home. And not even a week later, the girl decided to not pay Dayu, and then Dayu ended up with us too, and they're best friends. So it worked out all around. It was really cool. Jessica has a really unique story. She was actually haunting a temple in Indonesia for a very long time, and then was offered a vessel and decided to leave the temple. She was actually staying with a Luckthep conjurer, and she was very nervous around him in particular. She has some concerns about men, and rightfully so, given her experience, especially men who are like in kind of they're very dressed up and formal. Those types of people make her a bit nervous. And so she really wanted to leave that temple, and her vessel was kind of a way out of that environment and a chance to have a fresh start. She is very, very, very strong. I mean, she's almost blown out her light bulb a couple times, and she was interfering with a lot of his rituals too. And she said she couldn't help it because she was just so nervous around him. And so getting Jessica out of there, her being able to have a vessel and get into an environment that was a little bit more her speed was super important to her. And so we're just so glad to have her. Jessica is such a key part of our house and a key part of what we do. And she's taught us so much about working with spirits of other backgrounds and things like that. And she had some things to share with you guys too, in that regard. She loves to give advice. She loves to teach people things. And, I could not imagine a more perfect spirit for today.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. Very much like a everybody's friend, peacekeeper, just a lovely, 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 lovely spirit that we have here. So we asked some questions to Jessica. So as a reminder of how this works, before we film this episode, we do a spirit box session with our spirit of the week. Obviously this week it's Jessica. We ask them a series of questions. I write down their responses word for word. I do not change them at all. If you want to see those spirit box sessions, you can go ahead and visit Taylor's TikTok subscription. We have,
hundreds.
So many spirit box sessions there. All the other episodes have had those episodes on there as well. But here is what we asked Jessica. So, question number 1. If you could give one piece of advice to spirit keepers, what would it be? And Jessica stated, please be mindful of your spirit friends' fears so they are comfortable. And I think one thing we've noticed about Jessica that I was going to say at some point in time, but I'll definitely say now, is she is so wise and so intelligent and is so like eloquent with her words for being as young as she is. I believe she's like 14. And like I was
14, 15.
Like an idiot at 14. Right. And I feel like she's just so she has such an interesting view of society and things like that, which we'll definitely get into with some of our answers, but it's just fascinating.
Yeah, and if you'd like to watch her story, it will be linked in the description. I think that her story is one of the most tragic stories that we have here,
Yeah.
but you would never know it based on how she acts. I think she's really found peace with her story. But it is, I think there's a lot to be learned from Jessica and what she's experienced. And so if you'd like to check that out, that will be in the description down below as well.
Yes. Next question we asked Jessica. How do you feel about having a vessel? And Jessica stated, I feel comfortable having a distinct place to be, which is very interesting. And I think this is something that we've heard from other spirits is it's almost like a home or a safe
sense of
place, a
belonging.
sense of belonging. I kind of think of it like you have a bedroom, and it's kind of like your safe space that you feel like you are comfortable there, you can live there, you can sleep there, you have that kind of space that's very personal. I think that's kind of how I see them describing it a lot of times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Goes to show they're not always trapped,
Yeah, of
sometimes
course.
it's a choice and it's something that they want. So
Exactly. And I think it provides some sense of peace.
Yeah.
Next question. If there was a time you were not in a vessel, how was that experience different? And Jessica said, I felt lost mostly and had no purpose. And then I said, how did you find this vessel? And she said, in a shop.
All right.
So I think I love it when spirits find something that very much represents them. And I think from the outfit to the look to all that kind of stuff, I think
This outfit was actually made for her.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. And
so this was made for her vessel. It's actually
Yes.
a Thai dancing outfit. Which I think is really cool that she gets to have a piece of her. And I think it goes back to what Jenny was saying about, sometimes their vessel is very much a part of their culture and making sure not to change that unless it's something that they want. And Jessica's outfit is a very good example of, her culture represented in her attire. So
yeah, absolutely. Next question. What is one thing you enjoy about the spirit world and one thing you don't? This is the answer that made me tear up. Fair warning. Jessica said, it prevented me from having the same fate of possession as my mom. I never wanted to be like her. I have no complaints about it. I have company and love, and that's important.
Yeah. And for context with the possession thing, her mom was actually possessed and did unalive her as a result of that. And she had concerns that the same thing could happen to her. And so I think it's interesting that she sees it as kind of a sense of freedom from that potential fate that her mom had. So it's very sad.
And it seems like this provides a sense of family that she probably wasn't able to experience much, which is obviously incredibly sad.
Yeah.
But I think something that when you give, and I think Jenny talked about it a lot, it's like when you give spirits a sense of home and a sense of belonging, it is so incredibly important that you have there's even people who someone may know that's like they've never really had a sense of family or a sense of home or a sense of belonging, and then this gives them that, and it's just such an incredible thing to be able to do that for spirits, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Next question. What is something you want people to know about you? And this was such a fantastic answer. She said, I wish that people could learn about me so they don't have experiences I have. My story could teach people. Which oh my gosh, just the emotional intelligence and the wherewithal to have, I've been through bad things, so I'm gonna try and educate so other people don't go through the same thing that I do. Is just so honorable and unbelievable.
And I think so many people have bad things happen to them and use it as an excuse to do bad things to other people.
Yeah.
And Jessica is a really good example of doing the complete opposite. And because bad things happen to her, using that as an opportunity to help somebody else rather than hurt, I think is really beautiful.
I think it
So,
takes a special person.
yeah.
Like
And Jessica
yeah,
is that.
she
I
is
mean,
so special.
she has gone, I mean, she'll give advice to anybody, anytime, you know, she wants to help, she wants to serve. I'll never forget this. Jessica, when she first moved in here, and she's so thoughtful and she wants to give more than she takes. And right, our first conversation with her, she was like, "How much do I need to give you for rent?" And we were like, "Jessica, you don't need to give us anything for rent." And she's like, "Well, if I'm living in your space, I need to do something, you know, to pay for me being here." And we were like, "No, like, we want you here. We welcomed you here. You don't need to do anything for us."
Mhm.
You know, and I think it's something that also is important as spirit keepers to understand is like making sure that your spirits know that they're there because you want them there and not because they're obligated to do something for you in exchange. You know, could really help your relationship with them. So that was something we really had to explain to Jessica. It was like, no, we don't expect anything. We're not going to accept anything. You know, like, you are here because we want you here.
Yeah, and I think she takes her job of trying to create a very healthy, happy family atmosphere here very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, and I think she's very much like a glue piece
Yeah.
that, like, I think a lot of people turn to her in times of need, or if they need someone. Like, I feel like we've heard from multiple different spirits of like, yeah, I'm like, something happened to me, I'm gonna go talk to Jessica. Or like, you know, Dayu, for example, is like, just, I think, just is really shy. And she's like, she's really, it seems like Jessica's like really drawn to her, and she's really drawn to Jessica. And they
Mhm.
create this like just adorable little combo that I think everyone just sees her as such this wonderful part of the family. And it's
Yeah.
just incredible. Next question. What is your favorite part about living here? And this, once again, is just the most adorable answer. And she said, I enjoy having a chance to meet people. I'm not as lonely as I used to be. Every time she gets me. She gets me. She's just, oof.
Yeah, and if you've ever been on a live stream and have communicated with Jessica, thank you, because that does mean a lot to her when people ask her questions or she has the opportunity to help or something like that. So, you know, we've had several times where we've done lives and things like that, and Jessica has come on to communicate. And for those of you who have really kind of learned how to communicate with her and kind of the gentle way that she communicates and being able to have those conversations and give her those opportunities to get to know you guys. Thank you for doing that, because it clearly means a lot to her.
She loves it. She loves it. Next question. What is one thing you want people to know about haunted dolls? And Jessica said, we have feelings too, not just the living. Which I think really, like, we spent quite a while talking to Jenny about it, and I feel like Jessica just summed up our entire thing in like 10 words.
Yep. That's how spirits
Just-
work. They're
she's
very
so
concise.
succinct,
They're very
concise.
concise, but they say exactly what they need to say.
Yes, I agree. This next question, I asked Jessica, and the question was, how do you think spirit keepers can honor spirits of different cultural backgrounds? And Jessica said, I think learning about where they came from and their religion matters. We can learn from each other that way. Finding gifts from our countries is a nice surprise. So I think, once again, educating yourself on wherever the spirit is from, and then they want to learn about you too. I mean, they want to be, you know, members of the household and help a lot of times. Some spirits don't, and that's cool. But I think a lot of spirits like Jessica like to be a part of the family, and they like to help, and they want to learn and all this kind of stuff. So it's very honorable, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question, which I asked Jessica, which I just like asking this question. It's fun. I asked, what is your favorite snack? And Jessica said, I love tea. Is that a snack? And I was like, yes, of course it can be a snack. And she said, awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. I love it.
So it is a snack.
Of course, tea could be a snack, right? I guess so. Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
We don't judge snacks
No.
here. This is a free snack
You want
household.
tea as a snack? Tea is a snack.
More power to you. Next question was from Caitlin. Shout out Caitlin.
Caitlin.
If you could be anything for a day, what would it be? And Jessica said, an educator for kids. And I said, what would you teach them? And she said, about history. Just the sweetest.
She would be a good teacher.
She'd be a phenomenal teacher.
Yeah.
An incredible teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think anyone would be lucky to be able to learn from Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
She's just so patient.
We're lucky to learn from Jessica.
Yeah, for real. Next question was from Jenny.
Shout out, Jenny.
Shout out, Jenny. A lovely question.
Jenny making another reappearance in this episode.
I know. If you could share a meal with us as friends, what meal would you choose? Jessica said, I would love to share pad thai because it's a classic meal that everybody loves, even if you haven't eaten Thai food.
So cute.
Pad thai, fantastic.
That's so cute.
So
of course,
cute.
she had to be considerate of what we would like. You know?
Oh, of course. She was like, I have to think about what everyone would like.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, some Thai stuff, very spicy. And I'm okay with some spice, but Thai spice is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah. Mitchell's been to Thailand too. So that was another crazy part of her story is when they sent her bio to me being like, she would be the perfect fit for you. I have no idea why, etc. And her whole story is about Thailand and Buddhism and all of this stuff that Mitchell has been into for so long before we started collecting haunted dolls. And so
way before we were even together.
Before we were, yeah.
Way before.
Yeah. And, it was really cool because I was like, man, she has so much in common. We have, before she got here, we have stuff from Thailand, all over our house from when Mitchell traveled there and continues to get stuff too. And so it was cool because a huge part of her thing was like her favorite offerings are stuff from Thailand. And we had so much of that we were able to share with her. And so it was just a funny coincidence that probably wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah, there aren't coincidences
But
anymore.
I always think it's interesting, the ones that kind of find us and we don't find them, and how the ones that find us always manage to be, exactly perfect for us. And Jessica was definitely one of those.
Yes,
so.
totally agree. Thailand, gorgeous, by the way. If you haven't and you want to, go see it. One thing that I asked, another question from me, what is one thing that we can learn from your culture? And Jessica said, about public displays of anger. We don't believe in that. It's a sign of disrespect. Always keep your composure and serenity. Which is fascinating. And I think
how she said that, public displays of anger. Never heard that before.
Well, it's a very Thai thing.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. That's really interesting.
Thai people, at least in my experience, they're very composed. They're incredibly respectful. They respect their elders. Lovely, 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 lovely people.
Yeah.
Next
That's
question.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We could learn from that for sure.
Oh, we should. And I think this next question gets into it quite a bit. We asked, are there anything about American investigation methods that you felt was difficult to adjust to? And Jessica said, I have always found it aggressive and not composed. And not composed until... I'm sorry. I've always found it aggressive and not composed until I met you guys.
That's
being
so
us.
Nice.
Please use a soft voice. And I think
that goes back to what Jenny was saying,
yes,
barking commands,
that is 100% what
orders,
Jenny was saying.
And not understanding, who the spirit that you're talking to is. Because, in Jessica's case, in her culture, that's seen as an inherent sign of disrespect. And people are always surprised when, they have a bad experience with a spirit who they just barked orders at for 20 minutes. And
I don't know what you expected.
You really shouldn't be that surprised, especially when you're working with a spirit who, that is such an inherent sign of disrespect and offense to them. And so understanding kind of who you're working with is really important, especially if you're a collector and this is a spirit that's in your home, that you're interacting with on a daily basis. Dayu is another spirit. Dayu's from China. And with Dayu, a huge part of working with her is at first, people had to whisper when they communicated with Dayu for a very, very long time. And it kind of comes back to the same reason, is that, that loud, boisterous, communication style is not what they're used to. And it can be very overwhelming and almost offensive to them. And so recognizing that, our volume and how we approach them matters. It's not just, what kind of results we can get. It's how do we approach and are we doing right by them? And understanding who they are makes a huge difference in that. So
absolutely. Ooh, there was a second half to the answer to this question. I am so sorry. I forgot the second half. So the last question, there was a second half, and I said, elaborate a little bit. And she said, she doesn't like it because it's loud like monsters. In Thailand, we call that ego. You shouldn't put yourself above others, even a spirit. Absolutely.
I agree,
Totally agree.
Jessica. And you start to see too, like, where some of our narratives come from that we talk about in these episodes.
It's from them.
Like, we have learned these things from them.
This was her idea. This episode was her idea.
And I think, I think it's so cool that, if you give that respect and if you build that relationship, like you can learn. Thank you. You can learn. Sorry, the lights flickered. I don't know if you guys could see on the camera, but you can learn so much, and so many of these things that we teach you guys on these episodes come directly from conversations that we've had with them in the past and their mindsets on things and how they say it helps to be approached. So, listen to your spirits. If you have communication with your spirits, ask those open questions like, hey, like what is really important in communicating with us for you? Like what helps you? What makes you feel comfortable? And the way we approach every single session is so different, and if you are somebody that watches our Spirit Box sessions, you'll see when, Mitch is having a conversation and he's talking to, I don't know, like Sandy, he's going to be really like loud and fun and, upbeat. And when he's talking to Jessica, like he's almost speaking in a whisper because that's what makes her feel comfortable. And so adjusting your methods, it's not, oh, this is the way we investigate and we're going to do this every time. No, adjusting your methods to match the needs of the spirit. So I think that illustrates that beautifully.
Absolutely.
So
next question was from Carly, who also goes by Vix. Shout out,
Carly.
Great question. What is your favorite memory of Thailand? Jessica stated, this is the most beautiful answer. I always love to see the flowers glow in the moon. The flowers are my favorite part. Flowers don't judge. Incredible.
That's a really interesting piece of Jessica's activity that unfortunately you guys don't get to experience by watching. But I've had it happen 3 or 4 times. She actually will make like the room smell like flowers, which is really interesting. And she says that they're her favorite flowers from Thailand. That is what the smell is. So yeah, I wish I had some way to illustrate via video, like the smell piece, but it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Next question was also from Carly. What are some things you want people to know about your culture? And Jessica said, we really value peace and respect for elders.
You mentioned that earlier, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's where I got it from.
There you go.
Jessica, she's smart. Last question was also from Carly, who goes by Vix. Do you have any gossip you want to reveal to us?
Jessica revealed some gossip to us on a live stream last week involving toga parties and things. And so people have learned that Jessica is one who will, in fact, spill the tea.
She will spill the tea.
We have a lot of tight-lipped individuals who won't tell you nothing, but Jessica will spill the dirt.
Jessica will. She will tell it to you straight.
So Carly was smart in asking the right spirit this question because Jessica will tell it.
And she said, "Yes, I do." Last night when you fell asleep, Phineas, he got this dirty book and read gross parts, and then she said out loud, like that. Then she said, "Die!" You screamed. They thought it was funny. It wasn't. I got scared. And I was like, is everyone okay? And she was like, I'm okay now. Dayu was doing good. I was like, oh,
Phineas, brother.
Well, that is what it is.
A vast difference between our spirit of the week last week and our spirit of the week this week.
Yes. And they, they can lawyer themselves. It is what it is.
Yeah. Not a great choice on Phineas's behalf. There are children.
No, there are children.
Care? No, he does not.
No,
That's
he does not. Like we do with all of our other spirits, I ask, do you have any last words or any last pieces of advice? And all she said was, I hope you liked it. Bye, everyone. Precious.
I love her so much.
I adore her. She is just such an incredible part of our family, and I adore her. So,
yeah.
Thank you for tuning into this lovely episode. I want to say thanks again to Jenny from the first half of the episode. She is amazing. So please go follow her where she said,
Yes.
and all those places that she posts stuff and talks about stuff.
Her YouTube will be down below.
Yes.
And if you are in our Discord server, you can also chat with Spooky Jenny there.
Yes.
She is in our Discord server, is a huge part of the Haunted Doll community. And we would not be who we are without her. So we love Jenny. Thank you. Shout out Jenny for doing this with us. Thank you to everybody for also, as always, especially with episodes like this, these kinds of episodes they're not a scary story. They're not for entertainment. Episodes like this are to educate and to hopefully, help you guys on your journeys. So thank you thank you for keeping an open mind, for reflecting on your own practices. We hope you learn something new today that you can take home and use with your haunted dolls, and continue to further those relationships with them. We appreciate you endlessly for watching, for submitting questions for our spirits, for getting to know them, for hearing them out, for honoring what they say. And we cannot do this without you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Taylor, if they want to find you, where can they find you?
Yes, I am Paranormal Tej on YouTube and TikTok. I do have a TikTok subscription. That is where we post all of our spirit box sessions. And we also do lives every Friday night doing spirit box, Ouija board, etc. So you guys can communicate directly with our spirits. We have a Discord server, like I mentioned before, that is in my link tree that's in my bios on TikTok and YouTube. If you would like to join us and be a part of our ever-growing paranormal community,
yes,
we would love to have you. Getting to connect with other haunted doll collectors, getting to connect with other people with similar interests. Please join us. We'd love to see you there. Mitchell, where can they find you now? I'm still not over saying that.
It's weird. I'm not used to it either. I am Paranormal Mitch on TikTok. I try and do a lot of educational content. So if you're interested in learning anything specific or you have any specific questions, you can send me a message on TikTok. You can leave a comment on this video. You can find me on Discord at Paranormal Mitch. You can post in there, whatever. We also have a paranormal dictionary channel in the Discord now, which is super cool.
To talk about those
new things. So if you have any specific things you want to ask, things you want to learn about, things you're curious about, let me know. And I'm happy to put out some videos for you guys, learning some stuff. So, just like before, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next week in next week's podcast.
Yes, we will. Thanks for being here. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.